welcome to the official launch of Foróige's LevelUP program. My name's Mary, I'm 16 years old, and I previously hosted the launch of Nifty to Cork when I was 13, but this is my first time hosting an online event. I've been a part of Foróige since I was 9, and I really love that Foróige gives young people an opportunity to be able to host things like this. So yeah, we have a great audience with us here this morning, joining us online from all over the country. So a big hello to all of you. We have some incredible speakers online lined up for this morning's event. So I hope you're all settled in for the next hour. Today, we are celebrating the launch of Foróige's LevelUP program, which is all about preparing today's young people for tomorrow's world. Foróige created this program with the funding from Accenture to give young people the opportunity to develop a host of creative digital skills and become better digital citizens in a fun and hands-on way. LevelUP also helps young people develop their soft skills, such as critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, teamwork, storytelling, and communication skills. Now that's a pretty magic combination. So now to open today's event, it is my great pleasure to introduce the Minister of Further and Higher Education, Innovation and Science, Simon Harris, TD. Minister Harris was first elected to the Dáil in 2011 and was the youngest in the 31st Dáil. He is no stranger to the power and potential of youth work. Indeed, as a youth work community, we count on him as one of our own. Please welcome Minister Simon Harris.
I'm delighted to send this message of congratulations to everyone involved in Foróige, and indeed all the support from Accenture as well for the launch of this new LevelUP program. I really want to thank Karen Hannafy and Sean Campbell for the kind invitation to participate in this launch, and I'm only sorry that I can't be with you in person. This LevelUP initiative really does highlight the importance of digital skills, of digital literacy, and of digital citizenship for young people over the age of 10 in our country. Digital transformations are constantly evolving, and indeed the COVID pandemic has really accelerated that change. This initiative will allow young people from every community across our country the chance to develop their digital skills, to prepare, and as the programme tagline aptly summarises, prepare for tomorrow's world. What is particularly innovative about the programme is its focus on the development of creative digital skills and digital citizenship by using a learning by doing approach, thereby enabling young people to become creators and not just consumers of technology. And I think there is a really important difference between the two. I know you're going to be lucky enough to hear from the incredible keynote speaker, David Puttnam, who has spoken eloquently about the necessity of digital literacy for our young people in recent weeks. And indeed, in an era where fiction can be presented as fact, there has never been a greater need for digital citizenship so that our young people develop the knowledge and the skills to engage safely, to engage critically and positively within an expanding digital horizon. Digital transformation has been incredible for young people, incredible for older people, great in Ireland and great across the world. But with it do come a new set of challenges, and making sure that our next generation of leaders are digitally literate and are able to question, to critically analyse and to consume lots of information, but to do so in a discerning manner, I think is going to be so important for well-being, for mental health, and quite frankly, for our democracy going forward as well. This LevelUP program makes sure that no young person is left behind. It makes sure that young people, no matter what community they live in, what background they're from, has access to digital literacy and digital skills. And I am conscious that it is that partnership model with the support from Accenture, with the leadership of Foróige, and I really want to congratulate and thank everyone who's worked so hard to make this happen. As you may know, this initiative is following on from the launch of our new 10-year adult literacy, numeracy and digital skills strategy. We intend to put an unprecedented level of focus on the issue of adult literacy, because whilst today we're talking about younger people, and rightly so, we've also got to remember we do live in a country where many adults have been locked out of full societal and economic participation as a result of not being given the opportunities to gain literacy, numeracy and digital skills. And we can't just write people off or say you're being left behind. We now need to make sure we put in place the supports in every community, in every town, in every village, through our ETBs, to provide everybody with access to what is their right, a right to literacy, numeracy and digital skills. So I really want to thank you I want to thank Foróige for all the brilliant work you're doing in this initiative and in so many different areas. I'm sorry that I can't be with you in person, and I look forward to doing everything I can to support this initiative and indeed working and collaborating with you on that levelling up agenda across a number of areas.
Thank you so much for those kind words, Minister, and for taking the time to send us the message this morning. Now, today is all about the LevelUP program, so we have put together this short video to share with you what's at the heart of the program and why it's so important.
Young people are naturally curious about everything, and they're growing up in a digital world consuming content. So why don't we channel their curiosity and empower them to be creators, and not just consumers of content? Foróige's LevelUP program is designed for young people to develop the skills they need to become successful digital citizens. LevelUP educates young people about their digital footprint and how to use technology with purpose. Founded on the 3 key principles: inform, inspire, and invent, young people come together to create, collaborate, and communicate using digital tools. From making their own podcasts, animations, and posters, they share their thoughts and create solutions using digital storytelling. Young people are encouraged and empowered to find innovative ways to tackle challenges they face in their lives and their communities by using ultra-modern skills, which makes LevelUP as fun as it is impactful. And while they're learning how to create, they're also learning how to critique. They learn how to critically assess information online to work out if it's fake or not. They learn that what they share online can affect them offline, now and in the future. They're encouraged to navigate the digital world with the same care as they navigate the world around them. But most of all, they're becoming safe and informed digital citizens, full of confidence and bursting with creativity, with a huge skill set to boot. LevelUP prepares today's young people for tomorrow's world.
Next, we have a very special treat in store, Lord David Puttnam. He is known for many things, including being Ireland's first digital champion and contributing to the development and implementation for a new digital strategy. Lord Puttnam spent 30 years as an independent producer and award-winning films including The Mission, The Killing Fields, Chariots of Fire, Midnight Express, and Bugsy Malone. His films have won 10 Oscars, 25 BAFTAs, and the Palme d'Or Cannes. In 2006, he was awarded the prestigious BAFTA Fellowship. It is my very great privilege to introduce to you Lord David Puttnam.
Thanks, Mary. It's beautifully introduced, if I might say. I think you've got yourself a career already. Several things I'd like to say in the short time available to me. One is, we're very lucky. We're just listening to Simon Harris just now. We happen to have a minister responsible for this area who I think is a genuine enthusiast. I believe, I've never been told differently, he chose this brief, ministerial brief, having been Minister of Health, and I think he's really thrown himself into it. So we have a true believer as a minister, and that, believe me, having been in politics a long, long time, is no small thing. He has a real commitment. What I like to do is do a kind of run through a past, present, and future. Past, a couple of things about myself. I'm afraid I was a bit of a catastrophic failure at school and left as soon as I possibly could at 16. But I realized I'd actually made a possibly horrible decision and took myself off to night school. I spent 5 years at night school, but creating my own curriculum. That was what was special about it. So I did design, I did typography, things that really interested me and gripped me, copywriting. I did actually a year of copyright law. So I actually created a curriculum for myself and tried to equip myself for the world of the 60s. This is very important. And I was emerging from a rather grey and dull world of the 1950s. And the gap between 1950s and 60s was almost as profound as the gap between 2020 and 2010. Maybe as profound. So I set about trying to equip myself for that through the process of night school. It must have worked because I've got myself some nice jobs and I've had a very, very enjoyable career in every way. Also important to say that I joined a film industry and in fact spent my entire 30 years in the film industry that dealt in celluloid. Now, I don't know how many of you know what celluloid looks like. I've got some on my desk here if you're interested. But this is a pre-digital world. I literally left the film industry in 1997. I went to the House of Lords, and it was a celluloid world. Within 2 years, it had become a digital world. So I had to again go back to and sweat it, go back to work, to school almost, to discover what the potential of the digital world was, literally discovering how to use a computer. It was a fresh thing for me, and I was already in my 50s. So no one can actually ever say to me that the process of learning, relearning, upping your skills is either impossible or anything other than, I think, interestingly challenging. We're going to hear a little later from, I don't know if I'll embarrass him, Harry, who's one of my students, who's been a friend actually for a long time. Be interesting to see how Harry has adjusted to briefly in his career, at least for a year, being a filmmaker, because I don't think there's anything he ever intended. He was at UCC, and one way or another, either I or he or somebody drafted him onto my course. And I'd like to think he's enjoyed it, but we'll hear from him. And that's been a very interesting experience for me. So I, for the last decade, have been teaching digital skills. I mean, how ridiculous is this? I, who had to learn them in the 1990s, have been teaching digital skills for the last 10 years to students all over the world. I do it from here. The very room I'm talking to you from is where I teach. And when I say around the world, I really do mean around the world. So for example, in Australia, I have to get up very, very early in the morning to address my students there. But it's fun, and it's, I'd say it's almost a hobby. Now that's the past, there's the present, the future. One of the very enjoyable jobs I have, in addition to being an advisor at Accenture, is I have a role, a kind of difficult to describe role, at an organization called Lord Anglia Education. Now, I worked in the Department of Education in the UK for 5 years. During that time, we tried to emphasize the kind of digital growing up of the UK, with only mixed success, I'm sorry to say. Worth injecting here, because Simon Harris did. We actually identified what needed to be done in terms of upskilling, digitally upskilling in 2003. Parliament gave the responsibility for it to a number of organizations, including the Department of Education. Only 18 years later did a strategy document emerge. 18 years, during which, that's actually 2 generations in a digital world. It took 18 years to get a digital strategy that addressed the very issues that we're talking about today. That's to say, the citizenship, digital literacy, full understanding of the pros and cons of social media. 18 years. It was an insane missed opportunity, but hopefully the UK will catch up, and certainly Ireland has, I think, caught the ball and is moving quite rapidly. Back to Lord Anglia. What we're doing in Lord Anglia, it's a private company. We have a school, a big school in Dublin. They've given me permission, as it were, because it's a private organization, to experiment with what's possible in digital learning. Jumping back for a second, the 1990s, we used to use a phrase a lot, which was personalized learning. Sean will be very familiar with this. It never took off simply because we didn't have the technology to back the idea. The idea was right, which was that every single child should have a pathway, a learning pathway, and that we should be able to monitor that pathway and develop every young person within their own capacity, within their own skill set. It didn't happen. Now it can. With the introduction of AI and other forms of technology, we can at last begin to plug the gap that's been missing for a long time. And we're doing that at Lord Anglia. We've created a thing called DNA lessons, using AI and using technology to track the progress of each individual student. Quite challenging for teachers, but on the other hand, also a fantastic release for teachers. They actually have the data, they have the ability to be able to say, look, this young person or this group of young people have developed this far in this subject during this period of time. So we're looking at an amazingly changing world. I, at 80, am more excited, and I mean this, I'm more excited about what's ahead than I was at 20. I just hope to God I live long enough to see the potential I sincerely believe is out there. So my job really is to kick off this morning. It's not so much a keynote, it's a series of observations, if you like, but I am sincerely excited. I think I'm thrilled to bits that Accenture is involved in this. We have to get this right, because as Simon quite rightly said, there are vulnerable young people there who, unless they become not just skilled, but unless they understand the potential and the threats that the digital world offers, could find themselves in trouble. Last word is this: we're moving into a climate changed environment. That's going to throw up brand new challenges. And one of the weapons we have in dealing with that is going to be technology and science. So a proper understanding whilst you're at school of what the threats are, but what the opportunities are and what the challenges are has never been more important than it is today in 2021. Never. So it's a privilege to be here. Sean, thank you very much for you and your colleagues inviting me, and back to you, Mary.
Thank you so much, Lord Puttnam. That was such a special message. I'm certainly on board with your vision. And we have something very special coming up here today. With us this morning, we have Connor and Kira, who took part in the LevelUP program in Roscommon, Foróige Youth Service. Please give a very warm welcome to Connor and Kira, who are going to tell us about their experience in the program and how it made a difference in their lives.
Hi everybody, I'm Kira, I'm 11 and from Roscommon. I really enjoyed the LevelUP pilot program. It was great because I live in a rural area and found lockdown really tough with no friends close by to talk to or play with. So I loved that I got to meet new people and work with them on projects. It was incredibly well organised and the activities were amazing. I learned about podcasting, filmmaking and how to create a poster. I think using all the digital tools to make our own posters was my favourite bit. It also taught me how to be safer online. It gave me advice on how to use the internet in a safer way. I learned about my digital footprint, how to make better passcodes, and how not to talk to strangers. I definitely want to learn more about all the cool things that technology can help me do now, and it might even be something I think about as a job when I'm older. So thanks for listening. I'm going to pass you over to my friend Connor, who also took part in the LevelUP program.
Thanks, Kira. Hi everyone, I'm Connor and I'm 12 years old. When my family first heard about COVID, we had to go into quarantine straight away because my sister is high risk from a kidney transplant. I wasn't able to see my friends and the furthest I could go up the street was just the end of the road and back. When the LevelUP program was offered to me, I took it straight away. I had no questions. I never thought I could do animation, but the LevelUP taught me how, and the easy little ways of being safe online. I could barely speak, but now my family says I'm much more confident now. That's all for me. Bye.
That was just brilliant. It really is amazing to hear from people so young. So one of our purposes today is to highlight the importance of digital skills for young people like Connor and Kira. And I'd now like to introduce to you our panel, who will discuss the highs and lows of how we are preparing young people for the digital future. I'm delighted to introduce to you our pair channel, Hugh John O'Reilly. Hugh John is head of customer strategy and consulting at Accenture in Ireland and is a sponsor for the Accenture relationship with Foróige. He strives to be a maker. When he was 10, he made a door alarm with a switch resistor, buzzer, and battery. Today, he likes to entertain his neighbors with an Aladdin's cave of connected gadgets. He is very passionate about lifelong learning and Foróige's philosophy, learning from every situation. Learning does not stop in school. It is a part of our everyday life. Learning is a lifelong process. Please welcome Hugh John, along with our panel members, Vicky Godolphin from Accenture, Harry McCann, tech entrepreneur and STEM advocate, and Sarah Haslam from Foróige, who Hugh John will introduce to you in more detail.
Thank you, Mary. I couldn't have gotten a better introduction. I think to kind of build on that introduction, Lord Puttnam's, I think there's significant times during your life that have a big impact. And for me, one of those was definitely early on when I learned technology in school. I built that door alarm. I think over the last 40 years nearly, I've built up lots of skills in digital, and that's evolved since I came into the workplace in 2003, 2004. I was lucky to be on one of the first programs from a European Union perspective to try and bring digital skills into universities and colleges. And I was really passionate about that over the last 20 years as my career evolved. It's interesting the way Lord Puttnam, I wouldn't have categorized myself as a learner, but I definitely am a learner as I've kind of, over the last couple of years, concentrated digital transformation, skills now move into AI, and you have to keep evolving, keep learning, and you really need to be passionate about it and see what of an impact we can have in society. So I'm delighted to be joined on the panel today by Vicky Godolphin. Vicky is a managing director with Accenture and is a sponsor of Accenture's Digital Divide program, including recent research on Bridging the Gap, Ireland's Digital Divide 2020, and Talent for Tomorrow, Reskilling to Power Ireland's Economy. Also, Sarah Haslam, Sarah's the Director of Programs and Research with Foróige. Over the last 14 years, she has experience in youth work, non-formal education, and has a proven track record in developing world-leading youth work education programs. And from the very moment I met Sarah, when she started working on the LevelUP program, I've really been excited to work with her on it. It's a really, really fantastic program. And then finally, Harry McCann. I think a lot of you will know Harry. Harry's an award-winning entrepreneur. He's established himself in both business and political world as not only a thought leader, but a powerful voice across the globe. And really like to hear more on Harry's filmmaking experience. So we'll hear from Harry shortly. But maybe first up, we're going to talk to Vicky. So Vicky, it's hard to talk about young people and digital future without highlighting the digital divide. How do you see the digital divide impacting on young people and communities in the future, and what do we need to do about it right now?
Thanks you, John, and it's brilliant to be here. And I could just feel like you could play that video with Kira and Connor on a loop, and then people will really get it, why we need to keep focusing on this and doing the great things like the LevelUP program. Because for me, the biggest, number one word that comes to mind in terms of the impact is exclusion. Exclusion from connection, exclusion from learning, exclusion from participation, and exclusion from opportunity. Lord Puttnam eloquently talked about threats and opportunities. It's not that digital is bad, but it gives us so much opportunity. But if we make the assumption that everyone under 21 is a digital native, that of course they have access to digital tools, can seamlessly operate in a digital world, and in fact just want to do this 100% of the time, we're going to get it really badly wrong, and we're oversimplifying what is a complicated problem. We know from the research that we did last year that over 1 in 5 of those who would naturally be described as digital natives rated their digital skills as average or below average. So that's 20%. So are we saying that 20% don't have an opportunity, don't get to realize their potential, don't get to thrive in the way that they should? And the pandemic really highlighted that, significant numbers of young people struggle to access services, support, and above all education without the right digital foundations, access to the right equipment, connectivity, confidence, being able to do things safely, being supported. That's both not just in schools, but in the home, in their communities. And to me, this has massive, consequences in terms of it either reinforces or it even increases the social inequality, and, seriously impacts the well-being of those that we need to protect the most, in our society. So we know digital's here to stay. The pace of change will only get quicker. It brings us huge opportunities, huge benefits, but we need to make sure our future talent's ready to take advantage of that. The World Economic Forum stated that in future, 9 out of 10 jobs will need digital skills. We already see that. But they're not just the technical skills. They are these softer skills: communication, storytelling, creativity, collaboration, problem solving. These are so critical. We've big challenges. Lord Puttnam talked about climate change. That's not a simple challenge for us to all be able to address, and we really need our future talent, all of it, and all the diversity that brings, enabled to address it. So I think, it's brilliant. We've got loads more debate, loads more awareness, even from, the last 12 months since we issued our report. We've seen that. That's brilliant. But until we get really this kind of shared definition of digital inclusion, what it really means, and start tracking it, measuring it rigorously, being, really getting meaningful action to address the digital divide, we are going to continue to miss out on at least 20%. We're going to have 1 in 5 left behind. And I just don't think any of us think that's the right answer.
Really powerful, Vicky. Just we move on to Harry next. Harry, much of the narrative, and kind of Vicky's kind of touched on a little bit about young people and technology can be really negative, and this is exacerbated even for during COVID. I think we look at young people and technology, we sometimes is kind of we ignore the kind of positive aspects of it. And I am a bit of a Twitter fan, Harry, and unknowns to you, I do follow you sometimes and see your post regularly. And I think you made a statement around the generation of young people, this generation of young people can be the most influential generation of all time. Tell us what you think that is in terms of the influence this generation can have.
Yeah, firstly, thanks a million to Foróige for inviting me to be a part of this really exciting launch, and I genuinely mean that. I'm excited by it, and I should point out what Dave mentions. I am now a filmmaker thanks to Dave and his expertise and his many teachings, and it has opened my eyes to a world of opportunities and possibilities. And to be honest, I could take up the duration of this call explaining them, but I think what I always take away from David, and I always say about education, is that David's passion for teaching and what he's teaching is hugely inspiring. And I always think that's one thing any educator can do, is be passionate about what they're putting across. In terms of why I believe this generation can be the most powerful, is because of what we have at our fingertips. Technology gets an awful lot of bad rep, and I'm a romantic in a certain sense. I believe in the power of technology, but I also understand there are dangers to it, and I'm not naive. But I often describe this generation as Generation Tech, and we're the generation that's born with technology. We're the generation that will die with technology. We'll die with one of these things held in our hands very, very tightly. But in a world where we are so connected and we're all so connected, what we do with that connection matters. And that's what I come back to time and time again, is that Generation Tech has so much knowledge and information at our fingertips, but we need to make sure that we use that for good, and we use that for the right ways and in the right ways. And Vicky makes a lot of great points there. You know, we are very used to using technology for day-to-day communication and for day-to-day activities, but we can't just be users of technology. We need to be builders and creators of technology. And I know that's what the LevelUP program is about, and what it's based around. I think that's hugely important. And by equipping young people with the skills and with the knowledge needed to be these creators and builders, we can prepare them to live in a digital age and not only be the people who are the leaders of the future, but the people who lead us into the future. And technology has so many amazing opportunities. And it was great to hear beforehand, and Connor made a great point about, you know, it's brought him out, and the LevelUP program has really given him new opportunities and possibilities. And I resonate a lot with that myself. I have a passion for technology that I would have got from the Coder Dojo movement, which would be very, very well known, obviously, around the world. And that passion for technology has really given me a purpose and really given me so many opportunities over the years. So I think the LevelUP program for me is an exciting opportunity, because yes, it gives all of these skills and opportunities, but it also gives people a passion and a drive and something to aspire towards. And I think that's hugely important. So I'm excited, but I think, as I said, it's about giving the skills and knowledge necessary to be the people who lead us into the future, not just those leaders of the future.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point on the skills in addition to technology. One of the things I really like with the LevelUP program, and this may not be the correct terminology, but it's the kind of skills for life that you necessarily don't get in formal education, which is really fascinating for me and something I've honed over my own career. It's not necessarily you're getting them in a trained environment, it's listening and learning to others and working in group environment. I think is really powerful. Thanks, Harry. So we're going to move on to Sarah. So as you know, I'm a massive fan of the LevelUP program. I think one of the real strengths of the program is in addition to those hard skills we've kind of talked about already, is the soft skills, and I suppose being able to learn differently and kind of excel into the future. How do we scale this so more and more young people have the opportunity to develop these skills, so those soft skills?
Absolutely. So supporting young people to develop both those hard and soft skills was key to the development of LevelUP. Digital education for me, and as we can see, it's not just about digital skills, it is much broader than that. And we know from Accenture's research, 65% of the children who are going to start school today are going to be in jobs that don't exist. And exactly what Vicky said, 9 out of 10 of those future employers are going to be looking for digital skills. But we also know that employers now and into the future want people who are creative, innovative, can work in teams, can problem solve, can think critically, have a growth mindset, are empathetic, resilient. And that is where non-formal education excels, supporting young people to develop that holistic set of skills. And we know from our work in Foróige that young people learn best within groups, from adults and from each other. And you can see that's what's happening within the LevelUP program. You can see the young people there describing the digital skills that they have developed. So they're now able to podcast digital storyboarding, animation. They're also talking about their digital footprint, digital well-being, and they're able to critically think about what they see online. But they're learning those with the support of our excellent facilitators, and they're learning those with each other, with their peers. So they're sharing tools that they might have learned as part of the program. They're sharing solutions to problems that they've seen. And I think what they didn't give themselves credit for is that as part of the program, and key to it, it is using those digital skills. They are challenged to identify a need within their community and to meet those needs. And we've seen great projects coming out of that. How do we scale that? And for me, that's about broadening the net and the recognition that education can happen within multiple settings. So not just within the formal education system, and it absolutely happens within schools, but it happens outside of schools, within non-formal education in settings such as youth work. And I absolutely agree with Lord Puttnam. We need to create multiple and diverse pathways for young people to learn and to develop, and for these pathways to recognise the education that's happening through non-formal education and through programmes like LevelUP, and that these are part of what I would describe as a portfolio of learning that's recognised at both junior and senior cycle.
I think some really good points there around scaling it, and I suppose how we do that. I might just give Lord Puttnam the opportunity to come back and respond to maybe some of the points raised by the panelists there, because I think we've covered quite a bit there, and actually picking up on some of your points you mentioned, Lord Puttnam, earlier.
Thanks you very much. Just a couple of very, very quickly. One of the things that Harry would certainly became familiar with, which was very important, is that the task he'd set himself digitally didn't necessarily include storytelling. I mean, Harry had his own version of this. So what we tried to get across to Harry and his colleagues was the issue of storytelling, of the use of metaphor, the use of allegory, and the fact that it's often easier to drive home arguments through those means than almost any other. And I just refer back to that very, very good little video right at the top of the program, which is wonderful. Try to imagine, Vicky, trying to explain that in text. Very difficult, yeah. And it's wonderful. And if I have one frustration as I leave the dear old House of Lords, it's that it's a lawyer's paradise, the House of Lords. Everything has to be text. You're not allowed to use images. You're not allowed to use video. You're not allowed to make those connections. But we're living now in an image-based society. Young people that we're addressing and talking about today use images in almost everything. So in this one sense, you could say the language itself is changing. Not just the skills, if you like, but the manner in which we explain ourselves, our frustrations, our arguments, the manner in which that's done is also altering. I just thought that was worth reflecting on briefly. Thank you very much, Hugh.
Thank you. It's interesting. I think I was quite, I got quite passionate there, Vicky, when you talked about the action we need to take. And I suppose as someone that works in tech and lives it and has it all around my house here, what are those meaningful actions we can take in order to, I suppose, address the digital divide in their day-to-day lives, or the big actions the government need to take? What do you think those meaningful actions are that we could take in the short term?
Well, I think we've had a good start, as in what I've referred to is definitely the level of awareness, discussion, getting people involved, connecting the different. So the digital divide isn't something new. Lots of people have been playing their part at trying to bridge it over a number of years. But what we need to do is really bring those things together better, because we're with different parts of our communities chipping away at different pieces, whereas we really need to go at this together. We'll be so much more powerful together. So I do think there is a more sort of formalization of that community and that network. But the other thing is, I do think we, and it's brilliant that actually, you can hear the voice of young people through this event, which is fantastic. And I think we need more of that. I think we need to amplify their voices. So, I mean, similar to how we would do this in business, where you'd go and ask your customers, what do they really want, rather than making assumptions. We need to involve young people in the design in of the action plan, we need to really understand, what does inclusion mean for them? What are their ambitions? What are the things that they're worried about? We need to hear more from them, maybe less from people my age and more from them. So if it was one thing, I would say, let's amplify and involve young people much more in actually taking forward those actions and determining what those actions should be.
Vicky, probably leads nice into Sarah, actually, because as part of the LevelUP program, I suppose you would have talked to a lot of young people about what was needed in the program, how you can build those hard and soft skills. You might just talk about that. And then what I'm really interested in the end, Sarah, is adults, because we talk a lot about young people, but in order to get the LevelUP program to work effectively, we need a lot of adults involved. And I'd be interested to understand, is there any challenges involved in that? And how you've kind of ran the pilot over the last couple of months in terms of how you get adults involved and how you educate them as well, because I think we're educating young people, but also adults who are highly involved as well. So I suppose on two sides of that, maybe just on the voice of the young person, and then maybe the adults as well.
Absolutely, like young people were key to the creation of LevelUP. We did a very robust pilot initially before we rolled out the program, and key things that they were saying is that it needed to be fun and interactive. That was really important. The topic alone, you can see from what Connor said, the fact that it was about digital creation. They were going to develop skills as well as having fun with their friends, with support of adults. And that they were going to get something out of it, but also the opportunity to do something with the skills. So it wasn't just skills development alone, stop and we move on, but actually skills development that then I can then use to figure out what I can do and make a positive impact to the world around them. So they were some of the key things that young people were telling us. They also, and you can see from lots of the feedback, they didn't want it to stop. At the moment it is 6 sessions, we are a bit building it out. They wanted more, and on that point, the point of the adults. So we could see through this, it was the pilot was very much about ensuring we have a high quality program available to young people, but it became extremely apparent that it's great to have a program, but if we don't have confident, competent adults to be able to support their development, we just have a program. And we could see within the youth work staff and volunteers who came forward, some people jumped at it. Some people said, not for me, I'm an absolute technophobe. I have no idea how I'm going to be able to use this, but jumped on board because this was new and innovative. And what we could see by the end of there's a whole training program and ongoing support, that actually those adults who were saying at the start, technology is not for me, were asking us for more and wanted to know more, and were shocked by how much fun they were having by learning with the young people. Because this is not about teacher student, it is very much by learning together and learning by doing. And what we could see as one of the great kind of byproducts of this is the staff and volunteers who are developing skills in this program were confident then to use those in other aspects of their youth work. So we're bringing it into other programs, and we're also using it as part of their advertising of their services. I saw lovely posters being developed. So really the point is key. We need confident, competent, trained and supported adults who have access to a high quality program that has had young people's voice in terms of development, but also it's clear from LevelUP that young people create as part of the program. They are drivers in terms of the content and the projects that they develop throughout.
Thanks, Sarah. Just pick up on that point, drivers. I thought it was very interesting earlier on that Lord Puttnam mentioned creating his own curriculum. And actually, as an observer of Harry for a long time, Harry, you create your own curriculum, which I think is fascinating. You might just maybe give us an overview of your journey, Harry, and how you kind of drove your own curriculum, because I think it's fascinating, even since you came to college, and as Lord Puttnam mentioned earlier on, filmmaking, you've really adapted in very short sequences of time, which for me is really, really interesting. You know, when we think about long, but actually in short bursts, you've really modified, and I'd say a good summary is you create your own curriculum, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and look, what I've learned over time is what my learning style is, and I think that's really important. I think that's a crucial aspect of this, and I know Senator Malcolm Byrne put a question in there about the Leaving Cert, and I look at this a lot because the Leaving Cert for me is very static, and people argue with me a lot about the ideas of introducing technology into Leaving Cert because of the costs of afforded to it. But I always look at the idea that if we replace our books with iPads, the great thing about iPads or tablets is that the curriculum can change, and it can be ever changing. We don't have to reprint a book and send it out and get people to buy the book. We can constantly change our curriculum and make sure that young people are ready and prepared for the ever changing world around them. And everyone has a different learning style. And as time went on, I figured out what my learning style was. I'm visual, I'm hands-on. I just can't sit in front of a book and take in all that information. After my Leaving Cert, I went on and did a PLC. And Minister Simon Harris has done a fantastic job of really promoting that next step instead of jumping straight onto university. And it's something that I believe is really important, because the skills that you learn in that time and the opportunities that you get really have helped me to go through third level, something I wasn't particularly excited about, but I've tried in UCC. I'm now in DCU doing a master's, and education is something that I'm not just passionate about, but that I'm really hungry for. It's something that I want more of. And I think from my point of view, when I look at my journey and how much that has changed, technology plays a crucial and core part in that. I spent most of my time learning online, obviously from my undergrad due to COVID-19, but I also spent most of my time learning online through other ways and other methods and forms. And I think when I look at education as a whole and the benefits the technology can have on that, it's endless. And I come back to an example just in general of how we can kind of make a more hands-on learning experience. I had the pleasure of being over in school in Helsinki a couple of years back, and I spent the day in school in Helsinki just kind of getting a feel for how they do it differently. And in the school they were teaching STEM, and obviously STEM in Irish schools is very traditional. We sit down, we might do some lab experiments in science class, but generally it's a very standard experience. But in Helsinki, the school had a greenhouse, and the kids were responsible for growing plants, for growing vegetables, for actually looking after live animals. And they brought them home at the weekends, they brought them home during holiday periods. Technology classes were robotics, through Lego robotics, all of these hands-on learning experiences. And I just thought, even if we took a tiny percent of that, I'd have probably done much better in school. I'd have probably had a much better time, like many people probably would have. But I think I would have learned more, and I think I probably would have been a very different person. But look, I took my own learning experience into my own hands, and over the years I've had some great opportunities and possibilities, but I'm very lucky to have had those, and they're not afforded to everybody, and not everybody gets an opportunity. And it's very much where you're from and what part of the country you grow up in. I grew up somewhere with a great Wi-Fi connection. The Bridging the Gap report from Accenture shows that that's not very common in a lot of places. So, the opportunities that I had aren't afforded to everybody, and I think we need to look at that. So realistically, we can't say that everyone takes their education into their own hands. We have a part to play in that. And Foróige is obviously doing a good job, but everyone else has a role to play in that process too.
Yeah, it's interesting because I did home economics for my Leaving Cert, which wasn't very popular at the time, which was very hands-on. I learned how to make a lasagna, which proved very beneficial when I went to university. Thanks, Harry. Just before we finish our panel discussion, I'm just going to end and I'm going to ask each of the panelists, and Lord Puttnam, I might just ask you at the very end as well. What's the one thing we have to get right now to make sure we have a better digital future? And I might just start that with Vicky, if that's okay.
I think we have to get the foundations right, the basics right. We have to get connectivity. We have to have access, everyone have access to the same tools, and we have to give people the confidence to be able to use all those.
Okay, thanks, Vicky.
Yep.
And Sarah?
For me, I think we need to recognize that this can't continue to happen by chance. What we're hearing here is that just because you have access to a digital device or you're online, that somehow by osmosis you have digital skills and you know how to be a positive digital citizen. Or what we're seeing, what Harry's describing, what Lord Puttnam described, going out and having to do it yourself. So to me, it's about ensuring that digital education is happening by design and not by choice. And it's about the formal and non-formal education systems working together to ensure that happens.
Thanks, Sarah. And Harry?
Yeah, look, I'm gonna copy Vicky here, but look, and I come back to it, the Bridging the Gap report from Accenture, I stand by it. It was a very important report. It makes a lot of very important points, but the biggest thing is that, you know, there is a real digital divide in Ireland, and we can't get past that. And in a digital and an increasing technological age, we need to make sure that everybody has the equal opportunity to take advantage of what the world has to offer. And that is as simple as just providing sufficient broadband to every home across the country, to every school across the country. And that's step one, but realistically, it's making sure, as I said, that everybody is on an equal playing field, and we go from there, because at the moment the divide is too big and the gap is too wide.
So yeah, it's interesting. Let's just get the basics right. And Lord Puttnam, leave you with the last word.
Yeah, Hugh, I would say that as we emerge from COVID, understanding the world will not be the same as it was before, understanding the pace of change and understanding the opportunities. So I'm going to finish with a little show and tell. That, I hope you can see it, is a piece of celluloid. 30 years of my life, and every award I've ever won was won with this. Almost overnight, it vanished, and all the skills I had vanished with it. So I had to relearn in my mid-50s the digital world. As a society, we have to understand that pace of change, that level of challenge, and that also level of extraordinary opportunity, because you can do my old job better with new technology than you ever could with that.
Fascinating. I'm too young to remember that. I'd just like to thank Lord Puttnam and all the panelists for today's discussion. I'm going to hand back to Mary now. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. So we've come to our final speaker for the morning. So last but not least, we're delighted to have with us Sean Campbell, the CEO of Foróige, here with us this morning. Sean has worked with Foróige for over 35, and he is a passionate advocate for young people. Sean received an honorary degree in laws in NUI Galway for his services to young people of Ireland in 2011. He is also a member of a special council which advises the Minister of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth. Over to you, Sean.
Thank you very much, Mary, and congratulations on doing such an excellent job as MC this morning. I'm delighted and very proud as CEO of Foróige to be part of the launch of the LevelUP program this morning. This program was designed to build a foundation for young teenagers in digital skills and digital literacy. And as the other speakers have said already, digital skills are an essential part of helping young people to become successful in a modern world. They're essential for their education, for their future work, but also for every aspect of their life. And supporting young people to develop, practice and master digital skills is a huge challenge. All our speakers talked about it. It's a huge challenge for us as a nation. It's a challenge for our education system, whether that is the formal education or the non-formal youth book sector. And it's a challenge I think that Foróige are really, really happy and looking forward to continuing to embrace. We believe passionately that we need to develop more programs like this and for different ages. We need to access and find similar programs and curriculum and to ignite a passion within young people to engage in them. But most of all, we have to scale. We have to scale these programs to give young people the opportunity to participate. And as Sarah said, not by chance, but by design. We need to make sure that no young person is left behind. And this access to programs like LevelUP needs to happen right across the country. It needs to happen in our Foróige clubs or groups or projects, in new Foróige digital youth hubs. It needs to happen in our schools and in our libraries, anywhere that we can give young people access. I want to thank a few people, particularly for making today possible. First of all, I want to thank Minister Simon Harris for his kind words of encouragement and support. We know the Minister understands and has a real interest in this area, and we truly look forward to working with him into the future. To our partners and friends in Essential, you've just been absolutely fabulous. and I mean that sincerely. We've worked together in a true sense of partnership to develop this program and on a number of other exciting initiatives. So to Hugh John O'Reilly, our MD Foróige sponsor within Essentia, thanks a million. To Vicky Godolphin, to Jen O'Brien, the magnificent Jen, she's just been fabulous. To the corporate citizen team, especially Ariana and Deirdre, to Essentia Ireland's marketing and media team, but also to the many Essentia volunteers who generously donated their time and their skills to help develop LevelUP and to work on other initiatives with us. We are learning a huge amount from Essentia, and we in Foróige believe and hope that this will benefit young people right across the country. You know, I would love to thank Lord David Puttnam, you know, not only for his fabulous inputs in the keynote and his follow-ups, but for his leadership in the area of digital skills for many years. He has and is an inspiration to us in Foróige, and I genuinely mean that. And we hope that we can do some justice to his vision. For the Foróige team, I want just to thank all the young people, the staff and volunteers who worked on developing, testing and piloting the program. But I would very much like to acknowledge Megan Depina, Sarah Haslin and Karen Hannafy, who've led out on this project for us. Thank you very much to Harry, you know, for his incredible insights this morning, but to all of the other contributors, young and old. The LevelUP program is the start of a new digital youth strategy within Foróige, and we will now begin to scale the involvement in the program of young people right across the country. And to that end, I want to acknowledge a number of people and organisations who will be working with us on the rollout. The Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth, and the ETBs who will partner, who have partnered and who partner with us in youth work. To the local government management agency and to Joan Ward and the library network, who will help us pilot this programme across libraries in Ireland. To Tom Kavanagh and Maeve O'Shaughnessy and the board of Tomar Trust for their incredible financial support for Foróige's digital youth strategy. Next year, Foróige celebrates its 70th birthday. We were founded to bring education beyond the classroom, to promote learning by doing, and to enable young people to develop themselves and their communities. I can't think of a more wonderful way to celebrate that milestone birthday by rolling out LevelUP and to, I suppose, to become very ambitious for young people, to ensure that they get the digital skills that they need and deserve, and that in Vicky's word, that no young person is left behind. So thank you for everybody for participating today and for those that have joined us. I'll hand you back now to Mary.
Thank you, Sean. I couldn't agree with you more. And so that's almost it. Thank you so much again for joining us this morning. And thank you to all our fantastic speakers and contributors. I would also like to say a huge thank you to Rothco, who worked so hard on our amazing logo. And yeah, so we'll leave you with some young people who have participated in the program and who will tell you in this video about what being in LevelUP has meant to them. So that's enough from me. Enjoy the rest of your morning.
program meant a lot to me, as I learned how to make animation and how to use the VR headsets. I also learned how to make podcasts with Adam. It was really fun to make podcasts as we were in a group.
What I liked about it were the mini games, especially Me and Hinterland. They were great. And what I learned was about my digital footprint and that I need to reduce my screen time. I can recommend this LevelUP program because it's fun and it gives you practical skills.
The LevelUP program impacted me by teaching me about animation, debating, podcasting, and it improved my digital skills.
My name is CJ and I really liked the animation and the podcast on the Foróige program.
I enjoyed the LevelUP program as it taught me how to animate, and that is something I wanted to learn.
It meant a new, exciting and fun ways of engaging young people in youth work. I know all the participants really loved it and they too enjoyed the new skills, the new programs and the new bits and pieces they learned. So it was a great experience for me and I know it was for them too.
It was a wonderful experience to see the confidence within the staff rise and also the impact on young people. The fun and enjoyment they got from playing interactive games and activities, learning about online safety and also being creative, creating podcasts, animations and much more. It was a wonderful experience and thank you.
We really enjoyed facilitating the LevelUP program where it taught us all about our digital citizenship and digital footprint. It taught us all how to be, I suppose, safer and more aware online. And ourselves and the young people, we really enjoyed using all the new resources and learning how to podcast and animate.